One of the atomic reactors at the Chernobyl atomic power plant near the city of Kiev was damaged, and there is speculation in Moscow that people were injured and may have died.
An AI scan of the infamous Chernobyl's elephant's foot, the ultra-radioactive mass of molten nuclear fuel left behind by the infamous reactor explosion, has uncovered a stunning revelation that has left scientists dumbstruck. But what did the AI find? And what does it mean for our understanding of the disaster that changed the world forever? Join us to find out. The elephant's foot. In the autumn of 1986, the remains of the Chernobyl nuclear facility remained a site filled with risks, stillness, and terror. Teams of responders had been laboring tirelessly for an extended period to combat the catastrophic event that had shocked the globe not long ago. Clad in bulky protective gear and with their countenances obscured by masks, these workers strove to contain the devastation, although their attire couldn't fully conceal the grim reality. The earth beneath the fourth reactor was contaminated with an unknown substance, unseen by human eyes until then. They encountered a steam corridor in the basement that was supposed to transport vapor and heat from the reactor. However, instead of steam, they were greeted by a stream of black lava flowing from the damaged core. This molten lava had breached the sturdy concrete walls, creating a destructive path and eventually coming to rest on the basement floor. The biggest and most terrifying form of this molten rock appeared as a twisted black blob, weighing nearly 2 tons. It was cumbersome, unattractive, and unsettling, yet somehow seemed infused with a quiet strength. The laborers who initially laid eyes on it understood they dare not approach any closer. Their sensors blared with alerts. The emanating radiation was so intense that mere minutes in its proximity could spell doom. Cameras were cautiously advanced around a bend, snapping images in the faint light. This ominous creature, birthed from flames and chaos, swiftly acquired a chilling moniker: the elephant's foot. During that moment, the mass remained scorching, still emanating dangerous levels of energy. Tests indicated that being just 3 feet from it would expose a person to a fatal amount of radiation in under 4 minutes. It was an unforgettable image for all who witnessed it. How did this phenomenon come into existence? The incident started during a routine examination that was supposed to take place at the Chernobyl power plant. The operators were inspecting reactor number 4 when a series of errors led to the most catastrophic nuclear event in history. An unfortunate combination of human error and a flawed design caused a test meant to ensure safety to result in disaster. The power level in the reactor unexpectedly increased, causing alarms to go off in the control room. Attempts were made by the workers to initiate an emergency shutdown, but it was unsuccessful. The control rods, which were meant to stabilize the reactor and regulate its temperature, proved to be insufficient. To make matters worse, they were lowered into the core after it was too late, resulting in them breaking and becoming stuck. Rather than cooling down the reactor, this malfunction caused the temperature to increase even further. The temperature within the reactor rapidly increased, causing the water meant for cooling to evaporate. The growing steam created immense pressure within the reactor, resembling a massive bomb on the brink of detonation. Eventually, the initial explosion occurred. The force of the blast was so immense that it propelled the 4 million-pound lid of the reactor assembly through the building's roof. The reactor suffered irreparable damage. The cooling water that had not yet been depleted flowed into the scorching core, immediately turning into steam upon contact with the burning fuel rods. Subsequently, a more powerful explosion occurred, surpassing the initial one in magnitude. The Chernobyl sky glowed red from the flames and radioactive debris penetrating the atmosphere. The lethal substances released that evening carried fatal consequences across vast distances. Researchers later found that the amount of radiation released from reactor number 4 was equivalent to 400 times the strength of the atomic bomb that obliterated Hiroshima. The soil became tainted. A vast area spanning over 160 square kilometers in Russia and Europe was polluted. Communities were abandoned indefinitely. The landscape, including fields, forests, and rivers, was tainted by an unseen foe. The core of the reactor within the factory was unable to be adequately cooled, resulting in the melting of the nuclear fuel without any form of protection or water. When discussing a reactor meltdown, it is more than just a mere metaphor, as the fuel, tightly packed, continues to generate higher temperatures and energy. Lacking the ability to be cooled, the fuel transforms into a dangerous liquid fire, creating one of the most perilous substances in existence. The elephant's foot emerged from the intense disorder. The material was constructed from corium, a peculiar black substance formed from the fusion of molten nuclear fuel with concrete, steel, and sand. Its appearance varied, resembling tree bark in certain areas and glass in others, with a wrinkled texture that suggested a halt in its movement. Researchers who examined it concluded that it primarily consisted of silicon dioxide, along with traces of uranium, calcium, iron, zirconium, aluminum, magnesium, and potassium. However, for the initial observers, the focus was not on the chemical composition, but rather on the need for survival. Explorers uncovered the location of the dangerous mass in December 1986, locating it in room 217/2, which was approximately 15 meters from the damaged reactor and a few meters above the ground. The molten-like substance had melted through 2 meters of reinforced concrete before making its way through various pathways to reach that specific spot. Its fiery presence left a trail of destruction and devastation wherever it went. Being in close proximity to the elephant's foot felt as though one was facing mortality itself. The radiation emitted from it didn't just cause surface burns, but penetrated deep into the body, destroying cells and leading to illness and death. The nearer you approached, the more it shortened your lifespan. Initially, photos of the mass were captured using remote cameras due to the extreme danger it posed to humans. Despite the passage of time, the elephant's foot continued to be hazardous, although its potency had somewhat diminished since the initial catastrophic months. It evolved from simply molten fuel into a representation of the consequences of human mistakes coupled with risky designs colliding. It served as a stark reminder of the precarious nature of safety and how a single error could contaminate the environment for countless years. But this isn't the first time this happened. Also, what's the content of this foot? How did it form? Stay with us to find out more. The fire that became stone. Corium is considered the most hazardous substance ever produced by humans, only formed during catastrophic nuclear reactor meltdowns. Its existence is a chilling anomaly, a nightmarish reality born from the depths of disaster. In Chernobyl, a substance called corium was released. The reactor number 4 had a coolant failure, leading to a series of disasters culminating in a meltdown. The uranium fuel in the reactor increased in temperature rapidly, with around 1/3 being released into the atmosphere, spreading radioactive contamination over vast distances. The remaining 160 kilograms of uranium melted into a hot, molten mass, reaching temperatures of thousands of degrees. Similar to a blazing stream, it started to move downwards in search of a way out. 8 days after the incident, the melted fuel successfully breached the lower shield of the reactor. Its unstoppable force made its way through pipes in the basement, flowed into steam corridors, and managed to penetrate through 2 meters of sturdy steel and concrete. What was once formidable and unyielding was now mere sustenance for this fiery beast. The lethal lava continued to advance until it eventually cooled down and solidified in the underground of the facility. The chilled substance expanded beyond just uranium, absorbing all it came into contact with. It consisted of molten uranium oxide, sand, steel, concrete, silica, glass, and bits of the reactor. This peculiar blend was dubbed corium, a name that would eventually evoke terror. Corium is not only hazardous but also scarce. It has only been seen a few times in history. The initial occurrence was in 1979 at the 3 Mile Island reactor in Pennsylvania due to an accident leading to a partial meltdown. The next well-known incident was at Chernobyl, Subsequently, corium was formed 3 more times during the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear catastrophe in Japan. Whenever it emerged, it was always unexpected and undesired. Scientists refer to it as the most uncommon man-made substance due to its exclusive production during nuclear disasters. Despite its hazardous nature, it has been examined under controlled conditions. In laboratories, experts have intentionally generated corium in limited quantities, not due to incidents, but to gain insight into its peculiar properties. The scariest thing about corium is its intense heat. Even once it has left the reactor, corium can still reach temperatures almost comparable to the sun's surface. This extreme heat is long-lasting and persistent, continuing to destroy anything it comes into contact with. Unlike lava from a volcano, corium is not a natural occurrence, but rather a dangerous concoction of various elements, including uranium fuel rods, shattered control rods, reactor metal, concrete base, and newly created substances resulting from the reaction of burning uranium with air, water, and steam. It is a hybrid creation of destruction, fueled by human hands. In scientific facilities, the substance known as corium is closely observed. It remains both frightening and oddly captivating in this setting. Its movement resembles that of volcanic lava, flowing in a slow and graceful manner that is also destructive. The substance effortlessly breaks down concrete as it flows, disregarding any barriers in its way. Despite its destructive force, some have found a certain beauty in the glowing and flowing appearance of corium. The deceptive allure of beauty hides a sinister reality. Being in close proximity to corium outdoors guarantees a fatal outcome. Its lethal radiation is insidious, noiseless, and unforgiving. The elephant's foot, a notorious mass in Chernobyl's basement, was composed of corium, retaining its deadly nature for years, instantly fatal to anyone who dared to come near it. Corium serves as a cautionary tale, showcasing the consequences of human error and the transformation of machines from sources of light and power into fiery beasts. It warns us that even the most robust barriers can crumble under the destructive force of this molten river, the silent destroyer. But nothing remained beautiful at Chernobyl, as the molten corium solidified into a nightmarish sculpture. The underground spaces below the destroyed reactor transformed into a hazardous labyrinth, with formations of lava hanging from above and rising from below. Steam valves were trapped beneath solid rock, now imbued with radioactive energy. Amidst this eerie and dangerous scene was a well-known sight, a gray, wrinkled mass known as the elephant's foot. The elephant's foot is frequently referred to as the most hazardous waste ever produced by humans. Unlike other corium formations confined within reactors, the one at Chernobyl escaped and slithered through pipes and concrete before coming to rest in the exposed basement. It was a visible menace, quietly emitting deadly radiation. In order to grasp the extent of its peril, one must first grasp the concept of radiation. Atoms form the foundation of all matter, and certain atoms are steady. For instance, hydrogen, with only one proton, remains undisturbed. On the other hand, radioactive atoms such as uranium are volatile behemoths. Uranium, the substance used at Chernobyl, contains 92 protons and 146 neutrons in its core. This equilibrium is precarious, and due to its lack of stability, uranium consistently seeks to transform into a different state. As uranium and other atoms lose stability, they release particles that are like small bursts of energy. Protons, neutrons, electrons, and even high-energy photons are released from within these atoms. Through this transformation, uranium turns into different elements, like plutonium, and eventually transforms into lead. The particles that are emitted during this process are known as radiation. Not all forms of radiation are equal. Non-ionizing radiation, such as that emitted by your phone or a light bulb, lacks the ability to break the connections between atoms and molecules. In contrast, ionizing radiation, like the type unleashed during the Chernobyl disaster, possesses the capability to destroy these connections. This type of radiation is capable of breaking down molecules, altering their behavior. When this radiation comes into contact with the human body, it interacts with living cells, causing harm to the DNA that contains the genetic instructions for life. Occasionally, the body is able to heal itself from harm, with new cells forming and broken parts being fixed. However, when the damage is severe, the cells start to deteriorate, causing some to perish and others to undergo abnormal growth, which can result in cancer. In severe instances, organs cease to function altogether, making radiation sickness a torturous and gradual process. Initial symptoms such as fever, nausea, and disorientation may arise, but as time passes, the development of cancer, organ failure, and overall weakness become more prominent. The elephant's foot emitted such intense radiation that survival was impossible. In the period following its creation, it was recorded at nearly 10,000 roentgens per hour. To contextualize this, only a fraction of that dose is lethal. Being in close proximity to the elephant's foot for just an hour was equivalent to receiving over 4 million chest X-rays simultaneously. Such levels of radiation were beyond human tolerance. Demise was a definite outcome, and it would occur rapidly. The world was informed too slowly about the incident. After the explosion of Reactor 4, the skies were filled with fire and ash, and radioactive dust spread across Europe. Although the wind dispersed particles far and wide, the core of the catastrophe remained confined within the plant. The elephant's foot and the lava around it continuously emitted dangerous substances, posing a perpetual danger to anyone who came close. Almost 600,000 laborers were summoned to Chernobyl following the blast. A few arrived with awareness of the risks, while others were kept in the dark about the full extent of the peril. Military personnel, miners, technicians, and firemen entered the contaminated area to decontaminate, contain, and seal off the damaged reactor. Referred to as liquidators, these individuals played a crucial role in preventing the catastrophe from escalating. Many of the individuals who were exposed to radiation while working made sacrifices without making any noise. The effects of radiation were subtle as they had no sound, taste, or any prior warning. Some experienced unusual sensations like warmth or a metallic taste in their mouths before falling ill. In the year 1986, a total of 134 workers were admitted to hospitals due to acute radiation syndrome, out of which 28 lost their lives within the same year. The rest of the workers bore hidden wounds that manifested in the form of cancers, reduced lifespans, and illnesses that affected future generations. The overall impact of Chernobyl is still a topic of discussion, with some estimates indicating that anywhere from 9,000 to 16,000 deaths in Russia and Europe can be attributed to the radiation that was released during that time. Beyond these statistics are tales of families, cities, and whole populations that were permanently altered. The release of radiation from the elephant's foot serves as a stark reminder of the immense danger it poses. Unlike fire, which eventually extinguishes itself, radiation has a lasting impact. It is invisible and odorless, infiltrating everything it touches, attaching itself to the environment. A stealthy foe, it bides its time without making a sound. But even after many years, the elephant's foot still proved harmful in many ways. What other dangerous events did it constitute? Let's dive into it. The endless shadow of Chernobyl. Once the uncontrollable nuclear inferno in Chernobyl came to an end following 9 days of destruction. A fresh conflict emerged. While the flames were extinguished, the aftermath posed a greater threat than the fire itself. The unseen radiation infiltrated the atmosphere, the ground, and the remains of the reactor. Putting out the fire was just the start. The real test was now to contain the contaminated core of Reactor 4. Construction began in May 1986 on a large concrete structure known as the sarcophagus. This massive tomb was built to seal the failed reactor and prevent deadly emissions from escaping. Despite efforts to contain the reactor, it was clear that the cracks in its shell would continue to leak radiation for generations to come. In 2016, a larger encasement was constructed to provide additional protection for the decaying sarcophagus, consisting of a massive steel arch that served as a secondary barrier. Despite this new shield offering increased safety measures, the hazardous core continued to emit radiation beneath the encasement. Its radioactive energy contained but not entirely muted. In December 1986, only a few months following the incident, scientists unearthed the most well-known remnant of the catastrophe. Buried deep within the facility, they stumbled upon a dark, crumpled object. Measuring more than 2 meters across and weighing over 4,000 kilograms, this object emitted such high levels of radiation that it posed a deadly threat to anyone who lingered nearby for more than a few seconds. This was the elephant's foot, a perilous symbol created from melted fuel and shattered concrete, a mass that emanated a silent yet ominous aura of peril. Even though there was danger involved, there are still photographs of the frightening object in existence. These pictures were not taken by courageous individuals who dared to stand in front of it with cameras in hand, but rather by intelligent machines. Members of the cleanup crew, referred to as liquidators, ingeniously set up a basic camera on wheels and cautiously maneuvered it into the basement. They were able to snap images of the elephant's foot from hidden spots and at a safe distance, ensuring that they did not put their lives at risk. In 1990, a chilling tale is depicted in an early photograph of the mass. The image, which was shared with a professor in the United States, was said to have been captured by a man who ventured down with a camera, took a single photo, and then tragically perished from radiation exposure. Whether factual or not, this story highlights the sacrifices made by individuals to uncover the secrets hidden within the reactor. At the time the photo was taken, 4 years after the explosion, the elephant's foot had become less potent but remained dangerous. Despite emitting only a fraction of its previous radiation, being close to it for 500 seconds could still result in radiation sickness, and exposure for just over an hour would be deadly. What used to cause death within minutes now took hours. One of the most well-known photographs of the elephant's foot was captured by nuclear inspector Artur Korneev. In the image, his silhouette appears almost ghost-like, distorted by the effects of radiation. The streaks and patterns in the picture were the result of the camera's slow shutter speed and the beam from Korneev's flashlight, creating a grainy texture that served as a haunting reminder of the unseen danger all around. The radiation left its mark on the film, permanently etching a sense of peril into the photograph. The elephant's foot was just one aspect of the ongoing risks resulting from Chernobyl. The disaster had significant consequences that reached beyond the nuclear power plant. Numerous communities were abandoned as a result. According to the United Nations, more than 400,000 individuals were compelled to vacate their residences in the neighboring regions, never able to come back. Families abandoned their homes, schools, farmlands, toys, and recollections, all contaminated by unseen particles. The toll on human lives was immense. Over 500,000 firefighters, soldiers, and workers were deployed to the contaminated area to combat, clean up, and manage the catastrophe. While some were equipped with heavy protective clothing, others had minimal protection, leaving all of them vulnerable. The initial aftermath led to the deaths of 31 individuals due to the explosion and intense radiation exposure. However, the long-term impact is even greater. Predictions suggest that anywhere from 4,000 to potentially 60,000 deaths could result from cancer and other illnesses in the future. One clear indication of the tragedy is the increase in thyroid cancer instances, particularly in children who consumed milk tainted with radioactive iodine. The substance that infiltrated their systems in 1986 persisted in causing harm years later, demonstrating that radiation has a lasting impact. It remains in the body, secretly altering cells until illness manifests many years later. The global impact of the Chernobyl disaster taught everyone that the repercussions of a nuclear accident are far from over once the immediate danger is contained. The fallout of radiation, the remnants of corium trapped underground, and the contaminated environment persist long after the initial crisis subsides. Despite efforts to contain the damage with structures like the sarcophagus and the updated steel shield, the threat of radiation will persist for generations to come. The never-cooled lava. The saga of the elephant's foot did not conclude when the Chernobyl inferno was tamed. With time, peculiar transformations took place within the mass. Zircon crystals began to develop gradually as it cooled down, while small branched structures of crystalline uranium dioxide emerged and disintegrated repeatedly. The uranium particles were dispersed unevenly inside, yet the potent energy they contained remained uniformly distributed throughout the entire mass. Densely packed, weighty, and unyielding, it refused to release even the tiniest fragments for analysis. Scientists attempted to extract samples with machinery and drills, but the solid glassy lava proved resistant. Eventually, even armor-piercing bullets were employed in a bid to dislodge minuscule, usable pieces. In the summer of 1998, the effects of time started to show on the elephant's foot. The exterior crumbled into dust, while cracks appeared on its dark surface like delicate veins. The radioactive materials within were deteriorating, causing the once sturdy glass to weaken. Despite breaking down, it remained dangerously potent with energy. After over 30 years have passed, the danger still persists. In 2001, researchers found radiation levels high enough to cause death within an hour of exposure. Despite the decrease in strength over time, just a few hours near it remain deadly. The threat from the elephant's foot has not diminished with the years. It continues to emit toxic radiation, serving as a haunting reminder that the wounds of Chernobyl are far from being healed. In 2022, there was a resurgence of fear around the situation. Russian troops infiltrated the exclusion zone in Ukraine during their invasion, gaining control of the plant at the center. This sparked alarm worldwide as Ukrainian workers raised concerns about potential disaster if the emergency generators failed. Reports indicated that Russian soldiers were digging trenches in the contaminated soil, possibly unaware of the risks they were facing. It was suggested that some of them may have been exposed to dangerous levels of radiation, highlighting the ongoing unsafe conditions of the area even years after the initial incident. Today, the elephant's foot remains warm with lingering heat. In the quiet underground chamber where it sits, its center beats slightly warmer than the surrounding air. Its existence is a result of a mistake made by humans, and it still produces energy, not through flames, but through a subtle radiance of decay. Gradually, it seeps into the structure beneath it, bit by bit, almost as if attempting to burrow further down. Experts are concerned that if it comes into contact with groundwater, it could lead to another blast, releasing radioactive material into nearby rivers and wells, endangering the individuals who depend on them. Even in the absence of a major incident, the continual emission of radiation poses a threat. The elephant's foot doesn't require movement or ignition to cause harm. Its mere presence, concealed in darkness, silently leaks unseen energy into the environment. This insidious menace cannot be defeated, only observed. And not quite long ago, scientists used AI to examine the elephant's foot. What did they discover? Stay with us. The hidden face of Chernobyl's elephant's foot. In 1986, an unprecedented event occurred when the nuclear reactor at Chernobyl melted down, resulting in the formation of a bizarre and lethal mass. This amalgamation of uranium fuel, steel, concrete, and sand appeared alien-like and posed a significant threat due to its intense heat and toxicity. Over the years, the elephant's foot has remained ominously silent, retaining its dangerous and haunting legacy as a reminder of one of the most catastrophic disasters in history. Initially, the elephant's foot was considered a terrifying entity that nobody was brave enough to go near. The levels of radiation emitted were so extreme that even a brief exposure could result in fatality. Workers resorted to using remote cameras and mirrors on long sticks to take unclear pictures, with each snapshot carrying significant danger. Over time, the intensity of its heat has gradually decreased. The structure has developed cracks. Its exterior now crumbled into dust, and the radiation has lessened. Nevertheless, it still poses a risk to this day, serving as a stark reminder that mistakes made by humans can have long-lasting consequences that surpass multiple generations. In recent times, advanced technology has been focused on examining this powerful force that has been overlooked. Utilizing artificial intelligence, researchers were able to meticulously examine the elephant's foot like never before. The results of the scans caused unease among scientists. Despite the hardened exterior, the mass is still teeming with radioactive activity. Within its peculiar composition, crystals are constantly forming and shattering, uranium particles are shifting, and unseen reactions are silently smoldering. What may seem inert and motionless on the outside is actually still active in a terrifying manner. The AI scan enhanced the details of the structure, uncovering layers like turning pages in a novel. As the scan progressed, it revealed patterns indicating the gradual deterioration of the mass, with its durability diminishing over time. Certain sections appeared vulnerable, resembling weathered stone fracturing under stress, while other parts emitted a radiant warmth from unseen chemical reactions. To the researchers observing the scan, it was more than just a typical image. It felt as though they were peering into the core of a catastrophe, a core that persisted in its relentless beating. The risk lies not just in its current state, but also in its potential evolution. If the masses keep disintegrating, there is a possibility of the radioactive particles dispersing once more. In the event that it seeps into water sources, there is a likelihood of soil and rivers in the vicinity of Chernobyl getting contaminated. Despite being shielded by a large steel structure, the elephant's foot continues to pose a danger that must be monitored continually. The scans not only instilled fear, but also provided insights. Scientists are able to gain knowledge on the behavior and containment of this unusual material with each new discovery. The elephant's foot serves as a valuable lesson, highlighting the consequences of errors, the magnitude of authority, and the endurance of time. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.